As a former Howard University lecturer and long-standing contributor here on NewsOne Now, Dr. Wilmer Leon offers a non-biased academic perspective on the issues that affect the African American experience. In his latest book, Politics: Another Perspective, commentary and analysis on race, war, ethics, and the American political landscape in the age of Obama, Dr. Leon offers a collection of cutting-edge writings on many issues that have influenced the American political landscape since 2006. This book offers both reflection and insight as the direction of this country questionably shifts. To further discuss is national syndicated columnist and Sirius XM radio host, Dr. Wilmer Leon. Hello.
Hello.
So I told you earlier I was so excited last week, and I opened the mail and your book was in my mailbox waiting for me, and I am deeply grateful.
Thank you.
And can't wait to dig in.
Thank you.
So tell us what made you decide to write this book?
Well, the other perspective, in another perspective, is historical. One of the big problems that I see with a lot of our analysis and commentary is we tend to approach issues as though they occur in a vacuum. We don't understand, for example, Donald Trump did not just spring out of the ground whole cloth. Donald Trump is a continuation of a long line of conservative radical thought going all the way back to Richard Nixon. So if we don't understand from whence we've come, then it's even harder for us to understand where we are, let alone where we're going to go.
Okay.
So I decided after writing a number, there are about 80 op-eds in the book that started from 2006, and I organized them thematically at the suggestion of the late Dr. Ronald Walters, so that people could get an understanding not only chronologically, but also from an issue perspective of what's really going on in this country and why, as it relates to race, war, ethics, and the American political landscape.
So let me ask you, I want to turn to war first, because we've been watching all of these horrific images from Syria over the last 2 days. I mean, they're just, it's really some of the most horrible things I have ever seen in my life. But from the perspective of war, why is it, do you think, that some areas where the United States should have a foreign policy interest get more attention than others?
Primarily, I think it has to do with where the resources are and where America perceives the resource need to be. And so in this instance, for the United States, it's oil. And George Bush lied to the American people. There were no weapons of mass destruction. And the illegal invasion of Iraq, it was really the precipitant to where we are right now. The counter there with Russia, if we're looking at Syria, for example, Russia needs access to the sea. That's where one of their only naval bases outside of Russia is located. So we're looking at resources, Russia's looking at access, and therein we have this proxy war right now going on in Syria, and we're looking at Yemen, and we're looking at Turkey.
So, but let me ask you, if you could read the tea leaves, Russia has a lot of interest in a lot of countries in Northern Africa. So knowing what you know about the current state of affairs and Donald Trump, does that mean the U.S. gets involved in these North African countries or turns a blind eye? Well,
we're already involved. Why President Obama decided to assassinate Muammar Gaddafi will never make any sense. But again, and particularly when you look at the continent, it's always about resources. It's always about the strategic resources that allow your cell phone to work, for example, that allow satellites to transmit data. All of those things come from the ground in countries in the continent of Africa. And a lot of the question is, why are those resources mined from those countries but not processed in those countries so that those countries could then realize the benefit from the market value of the resources that are under their soil?
So India, I know, is very excited to talk about your book. I want to give her a chance to to ask you.
I mean, I find all of it quite fascinating, right? I mean, and I think particularly, the Syria thing, particularly in the Middle East, I think in general, is quite fascinating because there are a number of factors which have led us here, as you've kind of laid out. And I guess my kind of question is, where do we go from here, right? Because we're in a mess in Syria. We have this proxy war. We don't know what's going to happen. And there's a lot of stuff going on between the U.S. and Russia right now on a number of fronts. Where does this end? Where do you go? Well, I can't say where does it end, but where do we go from here? Because we don't know where it's going to end.
Well, I think the first thing is, and this is why these are op-eds, because they're short, they're easy for people to read. You can pick the book up at any point and start at any point in the book. We have to read. We really have to understand the impact that globalization is having on our everyday lives. Donald Trump keeps talking about bringing these jobs back. These jobs aren't coming back. It's all about cheap labor. I was reading that Apple is going to now not make the cell phone in China. They're moving from China, not to Indiana, they're moving to India because the labor rate in India now is cheaper than the labor rate in China. We have to understand the impact that globalization is having on our everyday lives, and we have to become better informed political consumers. And make our decisions about our politicians the same way we make our decisions about our sports teams,
our
and the
spouses,
same way
our everything. We have to wrap, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm urging everybody, go out, get the book. You
WilmerLeon.com.
Yes, and you said we've got to read, we've got to vote also.
A peaceful protest turned deadly. 37-year-old black man was shot and killed by Baton Rouge police. His hands are in the air, and you still get shot by the cops.
Oh my God, please don't tell me he's dead.
We're not going to let hate define us.
Race is a big part of this.
If truly all lives matter, then all lives need to matter equally.
What we require is action. What we require is accountability. We understand that black lives do matter, and we will keep focused on this issue.
NewsOne Now, every weekday morning at 7 on TV1.